In this video, we'll cover reporting on payment processing in Service CEO. Please remember that you can always go to a customer's account to view any and all attempts to charge either their credit cards or checking and savings accounts by simply clicking on the Transaction Log tab down here. This will contain all attempts to bill a credit card or a checking and savings account for this customer. You can also click on a particular credit card account or checking and savings account to view the transaction log associated with that particular card. We can see here, this particular card has had about 5 billings done to it here. Now let's talk about the transaction log report category. The transaction log report category allows you to build reports listing transactions billed through a payment service provider. Let's come into the report and take a look at the different options. As with all report categories, we have our two tabs. The Criteria tab, where we set filters and select what information will be returned in the report, and the Layout tab, where we choose the format of the report. Here are your different criteria or filter options for the transaction log report. The first is transaction date. The transaction date is the date that you run the payment through your payment service provider. The next is business units. You can filter by the type of transaction, as well as the type of account. You can also filter by the transaction status with the payment service provider, and have the option to filter by custom fields on the Customer tab here. In the Layout tab, you have the option to add any custom fields that exist on your customer page, and have different grouping options. Note that there are no format options on here because all reports in the transaction log report category will return a detailed view. Here are the grouping options in the transaction log report. You can group by business unit, by customer, by payment service provider, by transaction date, transaction status, or by transaction type. Now let's go ahead and build a new report. Let's say that we run a report that will list all payments processed through our payment service provider last week, and we want it sorted by the status of the payment. We'll set a transaction date filter of last week. We won't put any filters here for business units or the type of transaction or type of account, but you could, of course, only include checking accounts or credit card accounts or approved transactions or declined transactions. We'll go to the Layout tab here, and we've got this sorted by status. Let's go ahead and hit Save and run the report. Again, this report contains all transactions billed through our payment service provider last week and is sorted by that transaction status. First, here we see all of our records that were approved. We see we have a total of 9 transactions that were approved for $3,798.41. Under here, we have a list of all transactions that returned errors. We can go through here and see more information on the error. Please reach out to your payment service provider if the error information is not clear. Here we have 22 error transactions. Finally, we have 5 pending transactions. These will typically be checking and savings accounts that are taking a few days to clear and hit your bank account. There are, of course, many different filter and grouping options available in Service CEO. If you have any questions whatsoever about this, or could use a hand setting up some reports, please don't hesitate to reach out to our technical support department or to your customer success manager or sales rep, all of whom will be happy to help you get this set up. This concludes the training video on the transaction log report category in Service CEO.